go. You are now rocking with the hostess with the mostest. This is your girl, the natural hair gamer, Janae Benet. And today I have an exclusive interview with Graham of Legend. One word, okay? Not three words. Graham of Legend. Graham of Legend has done some really amazing things. And I'm super excited to get into them and hear all about what he's been doing and what's going to happen. What are his next steps? So, Graham, introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. It's one word, not three. It's one word, Grammar Legend. And I'm a Jamaican indie game dev based in New York, and I just released a game called Super Space Club. It's out now on Steam and Xbox.
Okay, so let's not just skip past being a Caribbean game developer. We have to go into
Never, never.
exactly, you know what I mean? Because I was that first before anything. So let's talk about your childhood, not all of it. How did you get into gaming? Which part of
Yeah.
Jamaica, where did you live? Like what type of gaming things did you see around in your neighborhood or in town and things like that?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, born in Jamaica, born in Kingston. That's just the capital of Jamaica. And I've been playing games ever since I can remember. The first, my first core video game memory was my dad. I think maybe when I was 4, he got me a Super Nintendo, and we played Super Metroid. Couldn't pass the first level because he's never played a platformer. Neither have I, obviously. 'Cause I was 4. And yeah, it was just from there. Even though I couldn't beat the first level, I loved it. Um, and then just throughout throughout time, I just kept playing games, kept up with all the different things. Had a Super Nintendo, PS2, GameCube, Wii, PS3, like all the things. And yeah, it just it. So some people, especially in Jamaica, they're like, oh yeah, video games are just for like kids or whatever. But I think the media or the media, one of those, it grew with us. And so yeah, sure, it started as just like really simple like platformers and what have you. But then over time, like I feel like as I grew, video games kind of aged up with me. It wasn't just like let's play like something in the arcade anymore, but it went on to be like full 100-hour narratives. There's so many things I've learned from video games. Like it's a whole other conversation. But yeah, and in Jamaica, like I feel like video games is a lot. You hear people talk about a lot about, at least these days, a lot about like Call of Duty or FIFA. That's like the main things people play in Jamaica. But you do have people who are just really in, like me, who are into everything. Um, and so yeah, it's never a situation where it was like I didn't know anybody who played anything. And then as for me getting into game development, and it was never planned. Like I never actually thought. I didn't think about it being a possibility. It was like, oh, people you have to be in like some big company like in Japan or in America or whatever to actually be a game developer. But then I had a friend in college who he's also Jamaican, this guy named Roberts, and he was like, "Yo, let's do the global game jam." And so we did it, and it was like, "Oh, we can make games. It's actually an attainable thing. Especially because at that point it was like the iPhone was like relatively new, Android was about. And so you could just make games and put it on, like put it into the world on mobile. And I think that's like the biggest turning point for just game developers at large. And yeah, I've been doing that for over 10 years now, which is crazy.
That's really amazing. So you talked about your dad getting into gaming. Has he played your game?
Yeah, yo, yes, he has. But also, what surprised me was he came to visit and he was here shortly after it came out last year. And he was like, "Son, come and help me with something, please." And he had fully downloaded Steam, made an account, and bought the game and installed it. And I was like, "Wait, you did all this on your little?" He doesn't have a good laptop either, but thankfully I made the game to where it runs on most things. And so yeah, he was playing it with his trackpad, just like that was they're very, my parents are very supportive of me just even gaming as a hobby and as a career choice. And so it's like seeing him do that made me feel really good. Yeah, he's played it. He's alright.
I love that. I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely adorable, super supportive because when I
Yeah.
talk
I think
about
that's important too.
for them to be supportive, so like you can actually feel
Yeah.
like you can do it. Part of my
Yeah.
discourse when I talk to other people who are either like first gen American or if they come from like, Caribbean, African, like Asian background, like how did your parents feel about it? Because my dad did get us into gaming and he passed. And so, like, my mom was just never the one to like buy us consoles and do things like that. So, when I was like, hey, I'm
Hmm.
doing stuff with gaming, she was like, great. So, what's your real job? Like, what do you do for real? Like, how are you gonna like eat, and
Yeah.
so when she kind of saw what I was doing, I think she understood a little bit more, but she was still kind of like, great. So, like, when your real job comes, you tell me,
Oh my
and then,
gosh.
like, we'll like celebrate and be happy. So it's always wonderful to see like the complete opposite, where like your dad downloads Steam, like, um,
I know. Yeah. It's that was it's crazy.
that's
I mean, they're of course they're still concerned. Like, hey, are you paying your bills, whatever. But I think once they realize that because I just freelance on the side, so I think they realize that once I'm actually getting through life, then it's like, oh, all right, cool. He's doing what he loves and he's making it work. So it's all that matters. There's
yeah,
no real job, you know.
yeah,
It's all
yeah.
real.
I get that.
Real to
Yeah.
me, anyway.
No, it's absolutely real because if you can afford your lifestyle and do the thing that you love, that's amazing, right? Some people afford their lifestyle and
Yeah,
do the thing that they love, like on the side. And especially with how the gaming industry is and being like you're your self-publisher, like you did that by
yeah.
yourself. It makes sense. So you're like, yeah, I'm like
Stress.
freelancing, and you're really making it work because I was talking about like publishing a game earlier today and the difficulty of it and like how do you find support, how do you like get the money to do it, because people are writing pitch decks where they are trying to get like a million or half a million or like
Yeah.
$30,000 to like produce a game, and you produced one, right? Like you produce, how long did it take you to create your game?
Too long. So it took me. So I track my hours just because it's really helpful to see how much time you put into things, so that way you know if you're putting too much, too little, and you can reproduce it. Um, and so the amount of hours I put into the game, it's about like call it like 8 to 10 months of just like work days, like like a 9 to 5 regular shift. But I started in 2019. It came out last year, so it's been 10 months over 4 years. Sadly,
How fast would you like to develop it? Like, this isn't your first game, right? You talked about your game jam
mm.
game. So how long?
And
Because
after
how
that,
long was
I
the
had
game
like
jam?
two mobile games. After that, the game jam was like it's a weekend. But then the other two games we did, they were each like took a year to make. Um, and so I feel like a year, like a even less than a year. Like I'd love to just make something in like 3 to 6 months. I think that would be like great. And for something of the scale of Super Space Club, I could have. It was just a circumstance, like I had a full-time job when I started it, and I was just doing like the nights and weekends thing. And because it wasn't like I never started with a plan, I just wanted to, just make something cool. And I mean, I did. It started out cool, but then it just hurt. Like because there was no pressure to actually finish it. I didn't. If I didn't want to work on it one weekend, I just didn't. And then of course, like the whole pandemic hits, and then I had children, and then I left my job and I was burnt out, and it was just like back to back to back, just things stopping me from finishing this game. Partially things, partially excuses, like. um, but yeah, so it's like now that I'm doing it full time, and I don't have a full time job, I don't have anything stopping me from actually just planning and executing just properly. Yeah, I think I can just start to knock out games in 6 months to a year, and they will be top quality still.
That's amazing, especially because you did this
Yeah.
game and um, we were talking about how there aren't as many like assets, like if you were to do like an action adventure, like RPG, things like that. Um, but you made this game and it's very smooth and it's very interactive. Like even the website, like I was playing with the banner because it moves a little bit with like a bit of like a color
Yeah.
shift. And, I thought that was really cool. And it's the little things that
Thank you. It's
really like
always the little things that, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the good detail. Did your job have anything to do with like game development or like your creative side?
Creative side, yeah, for sure. So I went to college for motion graphics and like design. And then my job was I worked at Snapchat. So I was like a visual designer slash product designer at Snapchat. So every day I was just doing a lot of design things, but not game dev, so not coding or anything like that. So then I'd come home and just like switch gears. As like you said, the game's very simple. So from like the first year or two in, like the first year I had the design down, like visual design. And then over time, if I felt like I needed to update something, I just update it. But for the most part, it was a lot of just like coding, all the mechanics, and just doing game design stuff. So it was a nice switch from my day job.
That
But
that
it still, it
but
takes so much time. Like I can only do nights and weekends for so long after working like a 10-hour job, you know?
I've never met anybody that worked at Snapchat before. So
Yep.
that's
Now you know
pretty
one.
cool. Yeah, I don't know
It,
who
it
keeps
was it was
sending me
cool. Yeah,
those
it
text
was fun.
messages, but I'd appreciate if you guys stopped with the little messages that pop up. You're like, oh, I got a snap, and it's like, no, it's Snapchat being like,
No,
hi.
but it's just not
We
Snapchat. Like, hey, it's Happy Easter. Like,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. Okay, so I want to get into this game. I'm gonna head on over to it's on Xbox right now, right? But it didn't start out on
Mhm.
Xbox. So when you first
Mhm.
developed it, where did you initially release it?
But so it started out, and I was only going to have it on PC on Steam because that's just like the easier thing to do. That's also commercially viable. Like you can have it on itch, and that's the easiest thing to just dropping it on itch. But Steam is like the place if you want to actually sell a game on PC. But then early into the pandemic, I got in contact with the ID at Xbox team, and they're like the best. They're really helpful, and so they helped me to get the game, or they gave me all the resources and just contacts to actually have an open dialogue and get the game onto Xbox, which was nice. It was supposed to come out day and day, like they're both supposed to come out last August, but trying to self-publish a game and also self-port it is a lot of work. Like I don't think people understand how much work it takes. It's not just a button and it just works on Xbox all of a sudden. There are also like Xbox specific things you have to like the whole achievement system and cloud saves, like all that stuff is different for each platform. So Steam has that, but then doing it for Xbox, doing it for I don't have any plans of put it on Nintendo or PlayStation, but like doing it for those things is also another step, you know? And so I put it out on Steam last August, which I mean in retrospect I'm kind of happy I did that because then it allowed me to fix whatever launch because there's always bugs. Somehow bugs are always there on launch, even if you think you fix everything. Um, so having it drop on Steam, I fixed all of that stuff, and then got to do the port for Xbox. Sorry, I'm watching the trailer. I'm distracted. Got to do the port for Xbox, and then yeah, it last month, end of March, it came out on Xbox, and yeah, go get it. It's out where it's supposed to be out.
That's really cool. So,
Mhm.
how did you get the idea to contact ID at Xbox?
They actually hit me up. I think I was just posting out about it on Twitter. And then it's just all chance, right? Like it's just all like yeah. I always say you have to put yourself out there because even if you don't make like a direct sale from something, someone at the right time might just be scrolling on Twitter and they see your game, your art, whatever, and they just hit you up. And so that's really, I think at that point especially, Xbox wanted to bring more indies to their platform, and yeah, just hit me up, and that was it.
Hmm.
Been talking to them ever since.
I like
And yeah,
that.
they're really nice to work with. So it's like, yeah, it's just nice. Like it's not just like they're not just like super businessy business people. It's just they're just also people who love video games and the game industry the same way we do, you know.
Hmm.
So it was really nice and refreshing to have people like that on my side.
I'm looking at your other two games and they look very minimalist as well. Are you a minimalist or like,
I mean, yes and no. Like, so those two games, those were a different time. Like, those were mobile games. So I wanted to make sure it was just something simple and quick I could just knock out and iterate on. And you didn't really saw games like that back in like so the first Shapes and Sound that came in 2012. You never saw anything that looked like that. All the other games were like Angry Birds or Plants vs Zombies, that kind of stuff. You never saw anything that just looked minimal motion graphicsy kind of vibe.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to really lean into that. Whereas now there's a lot of hyper casual games where everything's just simple. And so I feel like if I was to make another mobile game ever again, I would lean away from that. But yeah, it's just about the market and me looking and seeing what's missing, and that's how I ended up designing these the way I did.
I love that, and earlier you talked about like how you made your games accessible and how like you made this game very minimalistic. And I think it's very important to make things accessible so a lot of people can enjoy them. So say, like
Hmm.
you made Super Space Club and it has like this potential to be on mobile, but it's on console because it can be played on console, but then also it can transfer to mobile like seamlessly without any hiccups. Thus, having like more people able to play it. Is accessibility usually at the forefront when you make something? Like, do you think about like color blindness as well as like anybody with maybe like a older generation
Yeah.
phone can't play?
Um. Well, so with Super Space Club, it's not on. I know I actually tried it on mobile, but that's not because I wouldn't want it there. Like I'd love to have it on mobile, but it's more so marketing and selling a product on mobile is like a completely different, a completely different challenge and task. You know, like the mobile industry is just so it's not like with Steam and console, there's like some parallels, right? You can wishlist things. It's all about the sales. They have similar pricing. Whereas if I try to put any game, even if I try to put like I don't know, like a Final Fantasy on mobile for $15, people are going to be like, "I'm not paying for this. What are you talking about?" Like if it's more than $10, they're like, "No, I'm not paying for anything." And so that's the main reason, honestly, why it's not on mobile. Because I would love to have it on mobile to just, like you said, have it accessible all over. But accessibility in general, I think is super important because I want everybody to be able to play my games, you know. And then working at Snapchat, I think really that helped me a lot with just thinking about everybody, like thinking about colors, thinking about legibility, thinking about people who, like the game you can play all with one hand if you really want to, like all the buttons. I kind of try to mirror it on a controller for both hands, and you can play it just with a mouse if you need to, if you have like a three button mouse. Just because, yeah, some people, they might only have one hand to play, or there might be a parent who they just want to play something really quick, but they have a child in their hands. So it's like, yeah, as accessibility, I think is super important. With the colors, I feel like not all of them are the most accessible, but I try to make sure that the color palettes were diverse enough so that um they should be like I made sure to try and knock out all the different colorblind combos. I don't know how to even describe that, but I tried to make sure that it wasn't, yeah, like there was no really bad contrast anywhere. So yeah,
Yeah, there is that's very interesting as you as a solo developer are thinking about accessibility and things like that and the various colorblind combinations, because I think accessibility just started becoming being like a forefront thing where people, well, some games, used to always have like you could change the HUD, like you could change the colorblind mode and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do think it's interesting that you did that, or I think it's like noble of you. I think it makes sense to be like, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
want to design something that gets the max amount of reach, and not, I'm sure you do want people to click on it and play it and things like that, to make it something that you can easily pick up, put down,
Right.
start over. Tell me about the characters that you created for this game, and if they have any perks or if they do different things.
Yeah, so all the characters, they each have a different ability. And initially I didn't even have characters. Like the game was, when I first started, it was just the ship and the weapon, and that was it. And then I was like, I could have made it a game where you just kind of pick up different abilities on the fly, but I just wanted it to make it so that, like I said, the super arcade is super straightforward. You at the start of each run, you pick your loadout and you go. But then from Hectic Cube, the previous game, I learned that characters really sell. Like people like to have something to latch onto, And yeah, I just wanted to make like Hectic didn't have characters, and so I was like, all right, next game I'm going to definitely have characters. And I mean, it like having the physical character there doesn't change the gameplay at all because the ability is there, right? But people latch onto that. No one says, "Oh yeah, I love the shield." They're like, "Oh no, I really love Zando because that shield ability is so dope." But they latch on to the character, or it's like, "Oh, I love how cool the chameleon guy looks." His name is Roscoe, and yeah, it's just that's really why I chose to add characters. And then on top of that, it helped it helped the game design, and the game design helped me pick what characters, because I just said, all right, cool, I'm going to make like anthropomorphic heroes. So let's think, what what would, like, I made a whole list of animals and then figured out what would make good abilities from those animals, right? So like I had, for example, I had like a rhino at one point, and rhinos that can charge out of horns, so it'd be like some damage thing like that, which ended up being the hippo because they're also super aggressive.
Hmm.
um Pangolins they have a really strong. I also didn't want this to be the stereotypical, like, oh, what's that shell, a turtle or something, like I wanted to pick
Yeah.
some things that were kind of out there. And yeah, that's just how the characters came about. It was just fun to conceptualize, and then have have that like tie into the ability.
Hmm. So, although you were like coding and doing the different things, actually, I want to play the trailer one more time for the sake of the
Mm.
music. So let me just pull that up super quickly because
Definitely.
you were, even though you did like most of it, you did have help with the art and the
Mm.
music. And like I said, the first time that I heard the trailer, I was like, this is a banger. I was like, this is a banger for sure.
Yes.
Um, so,
Yeah, so like just because when you think of a space game, you don't typically think of something that looks like this or sounds like this, right? You just think of just the gloomy, deep, dark space, and then like maybe some kind of sci-fi or some techno music, right? And so when I was designing it, I was like, oh, I don't want any of that. I want to make it feel just different. I want to make it look colorful and vibrant, and also just sound cool. And then I feel like a lot of my culture, just being Jamaican and being black, being a person of color, all that comes out with the music, right? It's like a lo-fi hip hop jazz like influence. And then I gave the Fat Birdies, who they did all the music and got the vocalists and everything together. I gave them direction, and then they took it and just like ran with it. They really did more than I could have ever imagined this game would have been.
okay, let's play
So
the
yeah,
music.
run the trailer, turn it up.
Okay, full blast too.
Yeah, music is easily my favorite part of the game. I feel like I set the bar high now because I can't make a game that doesn't have good music now. Which is hard because I need it.
Trace constellations of your own path. Settle on a system of beat a nomad. The skies like limits and wait for no man. Light speed or slow, always keep composed and know if we cross those.
Wait, is it playing now? I don't hear any music.
Oh, you don't. Let's see.
Mm-mm.
Let's see if it's playing.
Oh wait, no, I hear it on the stream. You're right. Sorry.
How dope. How dope is that soundtrack? Like, it fits the colors, it fits the moves, like the movement, of like the ships. Like, I really like it. I really like it. So you got some help from
Thank
Fat
you.
Bard with the music, and
Mm-hmm.
who did the characters?
So I have a friend who also went to college with me. This guy named Steven, and I got him to like the concept art for it, and then I got to his style isn't really he's a very like traditional watercolor kind of style, and so I knew he'd be great. He has a great mind. I knew he'd be great for like coming up with the ideas of the characters, but I'd envisioned a different style for the game itself. So I got another guy who goes by Def Joes, I think that's how you pronounce it. And yeah, they took Steven's work and then rendered it into what you see in now, like even what you see in the background here. And yeah, it's again couldn't have done it without them. I mean, I could have done something, but it wouldn't be the same. Like all this stuff comes together,
Yeah.
and it's like I got some really dope people to work on it, and yeah, it made the best thing possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I think all of it really really fits, and I think it's really cool that you once again as a Jamaican dev um made a game that felt like it's bright and colorful like our culture, but you didn't
Yeah,
make it but you didn't make a game that's like struggle, hardship, Jamaica's a mess,
absolutely not. Like
like,
no,
I really enjoyed that.
no,
Like,
no,
it's nice
no.
to know that you're a Jamaican dev and you're like, I made this thing, and you're not like,
It's not
because,
overtly It's not like Jamaican colors everywhere. Like no.
yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think, um, there's nothing wrong with making a game like that, or at least the struggle part, right? I think I'd have been like, Graham, what are you doing? But like, there's nothing really wrong with making a game about like Jamaica because there's another person who's doing that. But also, in his game, it's not like, hardship, struggle, this, and that.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it's really well put together. What I've seen from the trailer, right? What I've seen from the trailer, it's like really well put
Yeah.
together, and I enjoy
You're
that
talking
part.
about Street Boy J, right?
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah,
Glenn,
yeah,
Glenn is also makes games, and they're not like you guys are Jamaican, but Street
right.
Boy's game is happens to take place in Jamaica,
Place
which
in
makes
Jamaica,
perfect
exactly. Yeah,
sense,
yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that part because I enjoyed that part because like nobody, they hit you up because your game is really good, it looks good, it sounds good, it feels good. They didn't hit you up because they're like, oh my gosh, a diversity story. Oh my gosh, like and I like
Yeah.
that because I think just as being Black people, Jamaican people, people of a minority, it's
Hmm.
nice when we get to do things that aren't the stuff that sells. Like, we get to do things that exactly doesn't come with struggle, and exactly, no one can write like an article about us like, Graham grew up in
Yeah.
poverty and didn't even know what a controller looked like until he came to America. Like, they can't write those. And like, I like when we get to
Nah.
do different things. I like when we get to
Right.
just make the things that come out of like our hearts, or out of like our um, imaginations. So yeah, what are the games that inspired you to make Shapes and Sounds, Hectic? What's the second one?
Hecticube.
Hecticube, and then
Mhm.
Super Space Clubs. Like, what did you You keep talking. We're
Um,
also going to talk about this market research that you keep doing, so I think that's great. But like, what are some games that inspired you to like
with Shapes
this
and
person?
Sound, I mean, that was just like the game jam. So each game jam has a theme, and I think the theme was Ouroboros. It's like a self-eating snake, like Infinity, basically. And I don't think we were inspired by any one game. I can't remember anyway. Um, yeah, we just made something that felt right, and it's always once you lose, it just loops in on itself. And I think that kind of became a recurring theme for one of my games. Like they're all can you can just replay them over and over. Um, with Hectic Cubo, it was definitely Pong. Like that was my inspiration for it because I started just learning how to program by myself and everything. Made Pong, and then it was also World Cup 2014, and so I made like a World Cup themed Pong game. So you could pick your football team or whatever, and it was fun. But then once the World Cup was over, I was like, oh, I should probably pivot this into something different. And then I made it so that instead of controlling the paddle moves, and that's like the goal essentially, and you shoot the ball as you saw in the trailer. Um, and yeah, that's how that came out. So it started from Pong, but then I just kind of took it and put my own spin on it and made a completely new thing. And then with Super Space Club, inspirations are all over. Like there's a really cool game by Vlambeer called Luftrausers. It's like a very similar idea where that one I think is set in World War II maybe, or it's set in a war, and it's like you're flying around doing the whole what's it called dogfighting. Yeah, it's like a dogfighting game. And so I was like, oh, what if I did something similar to that but in space? I think that'd be really cool. And then Astra is obviously like that's the visual is like it's very simple, very geometric. But I wanted to take that and make it more modern, make it more just feel cool like 2020 or 2019 at the time. Make it feel like that. And then there's a whole bunch of influences that aren't video games. Like initially when I started out, just because I just wanted to make something quick, it was all black and white. And then I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and that was like mind blowing. I'm like, oh, the game needs to have color, and it needs to just have an explosion of color because like I said, it makes sense where everything else that I was seeing wasn't just not colorful at all. And so watching that movie really made me feel like, oh yes, this is the direction it's going in. It's going to be very graphic, very stylish. And then the music, when I was when I was developing, I listened to a lot of just chill like classical and lo-fi music. And then I was like, oh, but this kind of works as like just background music for the game. And then I remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy, like the very first scene with Peter Quill. He's just landed on a planet and he's like just shooting around, but listening to 70s music. And so it's like, oh, so the characters in the game are now listening to that soundtrack. It's not just like music that is put on. It's very intentional. Like even when you take damage, the music kind of cuts out because like the record skip kind of thing. And yeah, so it's inspirations from all over. It's not just from other games.
Yeah, I can't imagine you putting like a dance hall or like a reggae or like a soca track. Like that would be really
So I
intense.
mean,
Like,
so one of the tracks is it's like a reggae artist, but I didn't want to just put out of the blue like a full on like
Yeah,
reggae
yeah.
production in there. It's a guy named Rizik. It is a friend back home too. And yeah, so that one you can hear the reggae influence, but it feels like it fits in within the world, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just, oh hey, here's now like a reggae song.
Yeah. Jump and wave.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like no.
um,
But his voice is unmistakably like Jamaican. And honestly, that's like the most vibesy track on the album on the soundtrack, you know? It that just has the most energy to it.
do you have a
Feels very
separate
much.
do you have a separate place for the soundtrack? Like if people just want to listen to it while they're doing
Yeah, so
things?
if you want to buy it, it's on Bandcamp. And then it's also on Spotify, it's on YouTube, I believe.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me
Forget
the
where it should be,
links
Apple Music maybe. Yeah, of course.
so I
Yeah.
can get it
Yeah.
to the people because it is banger after banger after banger.
Yeah. No skips.
No skips, no skips.
Nah.
Yeah, I love love it. I love it. I love that you're doing
Thank you.
this. What's your next game? Do you have another one in you?
So my next game is going to be no, I have a lot of ideas, and
Yeah.
like I said, it's been I started in 2019, finally out now, and so over the past 4 or 5, how much of a years, even before that, even before I started this game, I've had like a lot of ideas. It's just a matter of figuring out both what I want to make next and also what makes the most sense. Okay, if I was just doing it as like another side project, I just make anything, like I just start something and just see where it takes me. But doing this now as a business, as my like this is my full-time job now, I have to really be strategic about what I make next because I can't just decide, oh, I'm going to make, I don't know, I'm going to make like a Wii game, like because no one's going to buy. Can I? No, who has a Wii still? No one's going to buy that. Can I even sell that? Like how does that work? They just took the stores offline for the Wii U, so it's like no. But if it was a hobby thing, then I could figure it out and just do it for fun. So yeah, we'll see what my next game is. I've a bunch of ideas though, so it could be anything. But just know it's going to be beautiful and it's going to sound dope. That's guaranteed.
I believe you. I believe you. Just
Yeah.
watching this game alone, I can tell that the next one's going to be quality. And do you have any suggestions of game devs to look out for besides yourself?
Yeah, of course. So there's Glenn Henry, he goes by Sprite Wrench, and he's like another Jamaican game developer. He's currently working on a game called Sunken Stone, which is like a cool pirate themed, like a tactical what do you call it? Like a tactics battling game. Set in like the set in the Caribbean. So I think it's like in Port Royal kind of vibes. It's really fun. And then there's so many people like it's hard to just pick a handful. And there's so many really cool people making dope games. Another guy named Neil is the guy who goes by Aerial Knights, and he has his second game coming out called We Never Yield, I believe. Aerial Knights We Never Yield. There's Sean who he's always doing fun things. Yeah, so many people.
Dope. We'll definitely link all those people so you guys can check out their work because they all have really, really cool things. And Neil's first game was like rhythm based, so there's really good music in there too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Glenn was at GDC showcasing his game, at least the last time I went to GDC. So I don't even know what number game he's on. I don't know. I don't know how many he's
He
even
moves through
made.
quick, so I didn't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, he's really good at making things quickly and efficiently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I can't wait, to turn out a game in like another 6 months because you can focus on it. Yeah, recap us.
Yeah, I'm so excited, so
How long did
excited.
it take for the music to get back to you, and how long did it take for the like art to get back to you?
All things happen really quickly. So like the arts with the concept art took a little bit longer just because we're going back and forth, but even a little bit longer was like I don't know, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's just say a month. There's ad padding. And then the guy who rendered it all, he was really quick and efficient. I guess I also gave good direction. I don't know, because that's a real thing. Like some people don't know how to art direct, how to direct music, any of that stuff. And so you kind of blame the people who are actually crafting the things for taking long or getting it wrong because you gave them bad direction. But the for that also took like less than a month for him to give me all the characters back, all the artwork. And the music, that was just an ongoing process over the full development because at first they're developing just the just the instrumentals by themselves, and then one day they're like, "Yo, what if we added vocals to it? I think that'd be really sick." And I was like, at first I was hesitant, 'cause I'm like, "How? I've not really heard a game, at least a game like this that has vocals. It's usually like Grand Theft Auto or something where you hear something on the radio, but never just a arcade style game with vocals." But then we tried it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's no way to not do this now. We have to have all vocal tracks." And so that part took up that took a bit because we had to find different vocalists who wanted to be in the game and on the tracks, and also that we could afford. It's not cheap. um, But yeah, so that part was just ongoing over the full development. But all in all, like the if you have the right people and just have the vision, then that part doesn't take long at all. It's mostly unless you have like a asset heavy game, you know, like if you're making something like Cuphead where it's all hand animated and stuff, then that's the whole development. But for something like Super Space Club, all that stuff really didn't take a lot of development time at all.
What program did you use to develop the game?
I used Unity. And I mean, yeah, Unity, people hate on it now. I mean, I'm currently learning other things to not have to rely on Unity because, yeah, Unity's been all over the place. But without Unity, I wouldn't even be here making games now. Like they, especially early on, they are the reason why there are so many game developers now. Just because they made it so accessible to have a competent game engine for free, you know?
Yeah, we all have to start somewhere. What was the most
Yeah.
challenging thing about making this game?
The most challenging thing about making Super Space Club was probably just not starting with a plan. And so I felt like I was always just winging it, kind of figuring out everything as I go. And then also just doing it nights and weekends, like I said. And so halfway through, there was like, I was burning the candle at every end, like from the sides, bottom, top, everywhere. And so I got really burnt out. And so it's hard to make anything, even just pick up a pencil and draw something when you're burnt out, you know? So I think managing all of that along with me not having a plan, that was like easy the hardest part. When I look back at this, like when I look at all the things I've done, I'm like, oh, I can make this again. Mind you, I know how to do it now, but like even before, like when I wouldn't have sprints of just really good productivity and everything, none of it was really hard to make, I would say. Like it was a lot of back and forth of me testing and balancing or whatever. But it was all stuff I could do. But because I never done something of this scale before and also just didn't plan it properly or at all really. Then it's like that adds a level of challenge and complexity that you don't really think about because then you can be pulled in 10 different directions and you don't really know which one to go, you know? And so I've learned so much just from finishing this game. Like I think anybody who wants to get into game development, you just know that you have to start small and just make something to completion, put it out there, and then that's the only way you're actually going to be successful because you have to obviously you can't make money or you can't even grow an audience if you never put anything out, you know?
When it was time to publish it, did you know that you were going to do it yourself, or did you like,
For the most part, yeah.
yeah, you didn't even try
Yeah,
to
because
like,
not really. I mean, so there's publishing and there's funding. I tried to get funding for the game. And I didn't get some funding from Humble. They had like a Black developers fund, which is really helpful to Black developers because like I said, I didn't even know making games was possible, you know. And so them here helping people to kind of kickstart our careers is like super helpful. But publishers, I wasn't really interested because I find that it's hard for smaller games to get published. The publishers typically want to, I mean, their whole point is to make money, you know? And unless you have like a guaranteed hit, even if it's a small game, like a Vampire Survivors or something, then it's like publishers always try to say, oh, yeah, we're trying to fund games that need like $3 million and have a team of like 10 people, whatever, because they just want, they're trying to maximize their profit, their return. So I didn't even really try to market or I didn't really try to pitch Super Space Club that much because it was supposed to come out a long time ago. Supposed to be a small thing, a quick thing. If I was making something that's like that was intentionally going to take me like 2 or 3 years, then yeah, sure, I'm not opposed to publishers. It was just a matter of I never thought this game necessarily needed it.
how did you market Super Space Club when it was time to get the word out?
But most of the development, it was I just marketed by just like socials, Twitter. I have a YouTube channel which I need to get back to. TikTok, all the usual things, and then just hitting up a bunch of different streamers because streamers these days are like they're the key. You are the key. um, and then closer to release, I got a PR agency to help. It's Vicarious PR, and so they helped with like hitting me up with like Polygon and IGN and like all the different sites and all those streamers too. Cause they having a dedicated PR team is super helpful because they can just hit up like 10,000 people, you know. Whereas for me, that would take months. um, yeah, so they helped a bunch, and then of course Xbox, like being able to work with Idea Xbox for this Xbox release last month, they they streamed it on their own and operated channels. They tweeted about it, like all the different things. And yeah, it's just all. It just feels like a lot of guerrilla marketing essentially when you're just a solo indie. Unless you have, like, if you have a publisher, then they handle all that for you. They should at least. But yeah, it's just a lot of figuring out what marketing tactics work for you and work in. I can't even say work this year because things change so often, so rapidly, so dramatically. So you have to figure out what works in the time and just always adapt and change.
Whew. You said a lot,
Yeah.
and I think it's very helpful because I was gonna ask when you started talking about it, I was gonna ask you like, oh, for other game devs, and you were already on it, and so I love that you're
Yeah.
encouraging other people and that they can do it. You know, like you.
It's making a game is not hard. The actually finishing one is. That's what I always say. Like,
Yeah.
you can go on YouTube right now and learn how to make like me learn how to make Pong in Unity, and by the end of the day, you'll have a full game. You can put it on your phone or put it on H or wherever, and that's it. You made a game. Cool. But then having anything complex, having like actually marketing the game, getting it out there to people, actually making money from it, that's the hard part, you know? Actually finishing it. Like some of there are thousands, if not hundreds, if not millions of people who have started making a game, like doing like a game jam or whatever, and then that's it. They never put it anywhere. And so that's why, yeah, it's really easy to start making games, but it's hard to actually take it seriously and finish.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like, you have
Yeah.
great intentions, but
Fun
like,
though.
what did you do with it? Like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to tell the people?
Yeah, go buy Super Space Club. It's on Steam, it's on Xbox. And if you can't afford it right now, that's fine. I get it. Just go wishlist it and then pick it up on a sale. But definitely just go do one of those two things.
Watch the trailer, share the trailer, share anything
Hmm.
that has to do with it, or Graham of
Support
Legend.
me.
All of that. Graham, thank you so much for talking to
Of
me
course.
and sharing your process and encouraging other game devs or people who just want to do it. I cannot wait to see your next game, and I'm gonna backlog your
You too.
games. So I'm gonna go back and play Hectocube and like Shapes and Sounds, and then work my way up to
So
Super
the
Space Club.
funny thing about that, I don't think you can.
Oh,
Just
okay.
because of the way how Android and iOS work. After a while, if you don't just continue to update the games over and over and over, then it's like they just take it off the store, which sucks. Like it's really not. Let's say even some early games that have made millions of dollars. Like I forget the name of the game now, but there's some games that are like classic iOS games, but they just don't exist on the store because no developer is going to sit and update one game that they finished 10 years ago in the next 20 years. Like no one's doing that.
That's fair.
But both Apple and Google, they're like, yeah, no, you have to update it, else we're taking it off.
Yeah, they want you to
And
look
so
like
there's a lot of really
current.
cool things. Yeah, exactly. So there are lots of cool games that we've just lost to time, sadly, including mine.
Okay, well then I'll just
Yeah,
start with Super Space Club. That'll probably be
yeah, start
um
fresh.
and then you keep me in the loop
Yes, the
when
good
your
the good thing
game.
about Steam is that you can go back and buy like you can or even PC, you can just go back and play a game from 1995 easy. So that's the move going forward.
For sure. And we can't wait to talk to you when your next game is releasing.
Yeah, 6 months. Let's hope.
Got it. Yeah, we'll be waiting.
Trying my best.
Okay, that is it for today. Thank you for watching, and this is going to be up for a replay, so don't forget to share that and check out Super Space Club. You know, like you said, it's on Xbox. You cannot miss it. Like, it just put it on Xbox, but like pick your platform, you know, maybe he'll more port it to mobile and then you'll also have it there too, or if enough people request it, I'm sure he'll get it done. But Graham, once again, thank you so much for sharing your process and your history
Of
and
course.
your future plans. Oakley
Yeah,
dokley.
thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, we had so much fun. I was gonna sing a song, but it's copyrighted. So
Bro.
I always do it like when I end my stream. I'll sing like the out of the box like outro, but that's copyrighted. So yeah, you guys. Until next time.